great testimonies, right? It's good to see people growing and going in the right direction and getting successes. Because that helps motivate us, right? If we're going in the right direction and things are happening, every once in a while we're going to hit that valley, we're going to go backwards, but if we're going in the right direction, if good things are happening, that's motivation. Right? That helps keep us going, because we all know not every day is a good day. But if we change our perspective a little bit, you know that God's in control, right? So the rest of us is chaos, right? You know, if we try to control everything, most of us know where that got us, right? That got us in trouble, and myself included, in addiction. And so me being in control is futile, right? That just leads to more chaos. Anybody else trying to be in control? Same thing, right? But God's got it. So on the bad days, or the valleys, we just got to remember God's got it. And so we're going to talk about Esther today. So the book of Esther, and the title of it basically is The Life of Esther. We're just going to talk about the first two chapters today. So we're just kind of setting the groundwork. We're going to teach about Esther, for a couple of weeks. So the pastor kind of hands us an outline so that everybody in the church is kind of teaching along the same thing. But I know we're going to be doing this for at least a couple of weeks. So Esther, so it's chapter 1. Okay, so Esther lived during the worldwide reign of the Medes and the Persians, right? So I know everybody's heard about the Persians, right? And when I hear Persians, I think about that movie, The Three Kings, right? But so this was during that reign, and the Jews had started returning to Israel, while many were still in foreign lands. Esther was in Shushan, where the headquarters of the regime resided. The account of Esther covered about 12 years, so we're talking about a 12-year period. And Esther actually, she was born of the tribe of Benjamin. Okay, her Hebrew name was Hadassah. I think I got that right. I could be wrong. What's it? Can you hear me?
I'm going to have
Okay. Esther, she had been taken captive, right? She had been carried away along with her cousin under Nebuchadnezzar's empire, right? We talked about Nebuchadnezzar the last few weeks, and some of his shenanigans, right? He was a great, he had this great empire. But Esther, she was brought away. She was Hebrew. She was an orphan. Her parents had died, right? So when I think about Esther, probably one of the big thoughts that come to me, and I'm not used to holding the microphone, so I'm trying. One of the big thoughts that come to me about Esther is she was just in her place, doing her thing, and trying to do right. She wasn't. She didn't start out asking to be a hero. She wasn't anybody special. She was an orphan. This is another example maybe where God takes something bad, turns it into something good. And maybe that was his plan all along. He had a plan for Esther, I'm sure, right? But I don't know that it was making her an orphan, but he did take that and he used Esther, right? So she's an orphan. So Mordecai was a major influence in Esther's life. He was basically, Esther was his cousin, and he basically adopted her. Right? So she's an orphan, and they've known each other, and he really loved her, so he adopted her. Basically as his daughter. So her elevation, right? So she starts out as an orphan, there's nobody. She gets adopted by her cousin, and eventually she gets promoted to queen. Right? So was that something she woke up one day and said, "I'm going to be queen"? She's probably on the ground like we are every day, just kind of going around doing what we can, doing what the best we can, and trying to keep moving forward. That's what she was doing. She was an orphan, been adopted, she's held captive in a foreign land, right? So none of that sounds good to me. Somehow God used her and made her a queen. And then as the story goes on over the next couple of weeks, we'll learn more about that. But my thought about it is she was just doing what she was doing, right? She wasn't
She didn't have a perfect life. She was struggling, I'm sure, as an orphan, a captive. I can't imagine, you know, just being an orphan is bad enough. We've adopted Kaylee, my daughter, and she's been through a lot, but we adopted her, and she's precious to us, right? She was probably a bigger blessing to us than us to her. But so she had a lot of trauma, a lot of things happened in the back to get her to the point where we could adopt her. Same thing with Esther. So she had already been through a lot. So the idea that she was going to be clean was, that's like me saying that I'm going to be president or teach a Sunday school class, right? I never thought I'd be teaching a Sunday school class. So I guess that's a win for me and a loss for you. Sorry. Okay. So there was the king. They had the 6-month celebration, right? And all he's doing, it was an excessive and ungodly celebration. All he was doing was celebrating his great empire and how great he was, right? How great his kingdom was. Okay, so it was 6 months. It says it was an ungodly celebration, so they were doing whatever they wanted to. The king told his men, give the guests whatever they want, whatever their heart desires, just give it to them. Okay, and so this goes on, and I think it was after 7 days, but the king's in a drunken condition. Okay, so he sought for his queen, Queen Vashti, because he wanted to bring her in and show her beauty off, right? So he's in front of a bunch of wicked politicians, right? So he's going to show his trophy wife. Hey, look, you know, I've got all of this kingdom. I can give you whatever you want, and I've got this beautiful queen here. And that's in verse 1, chapter 1, verse 10 to 12. Right? I should be looking in here a little bit more so you guys know. We're coming out of the Bible. So verse 10 says, on the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded, and then it said, the human, Bizza, Hobana, I'm probably butchering these all up, all the names, right? The 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus king. Okay. So he told them, go bring my queen to me. Right? So chapter 11 says, so bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal to show the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look at. Verse 12 says, but the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore the king was very wroth, his anger burned in him. So this king who is used to getting whatever he wants, he tells his wife, his queen, come. And she's like, no. Right? So he gets mad. He's not used to being told no. Right? Well, the queen, you know, it's probably, that was a good thing, right? And the lesson talks about, you know, good for her. She should be admired for her refusal. She knew what was up. She knew why she was going to be displayed as a trophy wife. The king's drunk. All this debauchery is going on. She knew what was up. She was just going to stay. She was having a party with the women, but it doesn't really talk about that. But she didn't want anything to do with what was going on where the king was. So she said no. So the king gets mad, and we'll go on here. So the next step, also people, some of his advisors, they say, okay, well that's no good. You can't, it's about power, right? You can't be king and rule everyone and let somebody tell you no. Like, the king's already mad. If you're married or been married, you know that we all have arguments and our disagreements, right? And I know the biggest way, one, to get my wife to do something that's really hard is to tell her she can't do it, right? So she'll find a way. The other one is, well, if I tell her, do this, it's not going to happen. I got to ask her. So, so the people around him say, what shall we do? Verse 15 says, so still book 1, chapter 15, what shall we do under the queen Vashti according to law? For she hath not performed the commandment of the king, Ahasuerus by the chamberlains. And verse 16 says, and none can answer before the king and the princes. Vashti, the queen, hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people God and all the promises of the king Ahasuerus. And so they're prompting him on and saying, not only did she wrong you, right? Okay, that's personal, but she's wronged everybody here because she's embarrassed you. She's not following your orders. Okay? And so what are they doing? They're planting this seed, right, of division. Am I recognizing that going on in our own government? Right? Let's just, conquer and divide, and it's all about power, right? But if we are divided and we don't have one strong voice, it's easier to control us. So the king and the people around him are like, you gotta maintain power. You gotta rule with an iron fist. So they're telling him, she's wrong. You gotta do something about this queen. So that's like, I don't know, like that somebody come to me and say, you gotta do something about your wife. Okay, well, I would have a different answer to the king. The king's like, okay, yeah, you're probably right. So, here we are, verse 17. For this deed, the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes when it shall be reported. The king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. So they're saying, this is going to spread. People are going to start talking, and they're going to know that the king said, but that the queen said no. So all the women are going to tell their husbands no. Right? And verse 18, likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before the king Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal state unto another that is better than she. So they're saying, you got to dump this queen, and you got to find a new queen. So that's their advice. And he's like, yeah, that'll keep me in control. That's what I'll do. Right? So he's taking miracles, blessing people who just want to be empowered anyway, right? So that's what he does. He says, okay, she's not going to fall on. So he basically says she's not going to be my queen anymore. Then we're going to kind of go back to Esther, right? That's where she kind of starts coming. We're in, well, I want to stay in chapter 1 here because in 20 it says, and when the king's decree went, which he shall make be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give their husbands honor, both the great and small. And that pleased the king, right? So he wants it to go out there that all the wives have to obey their husbands. So in verse 2, chapter 2, after these things, when the king of Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what was decreed against her. And then his servants basically ministered unto him, and so they appoint a bunch of officers, and they go out and they say, all right, we're gonna find your queen. And so they find all the fine maidens throughout, and they start gathering them up. They're going to find somebody that they think should be, that he will like if they put a queen. So we get back in to Esther, right? So she's one of them that eventually is brought before the king. Her beauty was recognized by Haggai, the keeper of the women, right? So when he sees her and they bring her in along with a bunch of other women, so she's just doing what she's supposed to do, doing what she's told. She's a captive, she's a slave. And so she's nobody, she's an orphan slave. But this guy, the keeper of women for the king, she was recognized, her beauty was recognized, and so she was brought to the king as a candidate to be the new queen. Okay, so then Esther, it talks about Esther was very loyal to her loving cousin Mordecai. Chapter 2, verse 15. Now in the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go into the king. She required nothing, or Haggai the king's, she required nothing but what the Haggai the king's keeper of women appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all that looked upon her. So she said, she'd be humble. I don't need anything else. They're like, you're going to go see the king. You're a candidate to be queen. What do you want? Just that happens. She She was satisfied with what she had. She was humble. I got everything I need. Right? So she was taken into the king. In the king's house in the 10th month, which is the month of Teth, in the 7th year of his reign, of his reign. Okay, so the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. So now she's queen, and her beauty was really what it was all about. But so the Lord used that even, right? So the Lord takes something that's bad and he turns it into something good, but he puts her in a position that somewhere down the road he's going to be able to use that for good, right? And so sometimes we don't see it, and I'm sure she didn't, being an orphan, didn't see any good out of that. She didn't see any plans. But that's what happened. So she gets there. So her character is a good example to us. Though she was beautiful and no doubt desired, Esther was humble. Right? She understands well the feelings of fear and uncertainty. She understands stuff. Coming out as an orphan, she understands what it's like to be lonely, to be a slave, to not be in control of her life. So she understands all that. So the question that the pastor wrote is, let's ask ourselves this question: what did Esther do to overcome her fear and uncertainty? Well, she believed in God and His power. Right? So she believed in God. She chose to be greatly influenced by her loving cousin Mordecai. So she followed what Mordecai advised, but he didn't know what he advised her. She listened to what he said. She was humble, and she loved Mordecai. She was humble enough to seek counsel. Even when she became queen, she was still listening to Mordecai. Right? Now she's got all this power, and instead of it going to her head and thinking, now I get whatever I want, she's listening to Mordecai. And she's used her God-given beauty for good. She believed in Mordecai, and she was content with her station. And as we go on, I only got a few minutes left, but as the story goes on, next week we'll talk more about how God used that. But so I don't want to get too far ahead. But so now she's in a place, the Lord's placed her in a position that He can use her not just to help herself, but to help her people, the Jews. Right? So that's kind of where we're at. I just think, like I said, my thought about this is she's just doing what, she's one of us, just a regular person. We're not slaves, but she was a slave. She was an orphan, had nothing, went what she was told to do. The only thing good in her life was Mordecai. And so Mordecai, and he loved her like a father. And one of the things he told her is, don't tell anyone you're a Jew. Don't tell the king. So that's a kind of a key part of this story. So the king takes her and makes her queen. He doesn't know she's a Jew. At that point, it's not a problem. Right? He's in love. He loves her beauty. He loves her, I guess. Makes her queen. Gives her all his power. But how much? I mean, I don't know. Well, it does turn out to be a lot of power, right? But so she is in a place. She's been placed in a position, kind of authority, right? But she has the king's ear. That's probably the biggest thing, right? She could say, all these other advisors, right? They listen just like our politicians have advisors say, and they're not even usually. A lot of the times, I guess, they're not necessarily making a decision that's right for us or our country. They're making a decision that will get them the most votes next time around. Yep. Right? So you got advisors that, the candidate or the politician, they say, well, this is what I want to do. But the advisors say, you're going to lose some voters if you do that, right? Maybe you should do this, or say you're going to do that. So it's all about the power to get the next vote. Okay, so they got advisors. Well, the king, he's got these advisors that are just trying to keep him in power. So, but now Vashti is a queen, and she has the king's ear. And just the fact that she is beautiful helps her, but she could use that for good. So that's kind of where we are right now. So I just, like I said, I look at it like all of us, right? I don't know from day to day what I'm going to do. I know I hadn't planned on being a Sunday school teacher. I know that I'm a recovering alcoholic. I know that I made a lot of mistakes in my past. But I also know that I tried to control my world. And and that didn't work. But when I gave it over to God and I let Jesus in my heart, it all started to change, right? And everything that I had been wanting, I lost a lot of what I had, but everything that and more, that if I'd have asked for what I have, I wouldn't even have dreamed it. I've been blessed with so much, right? And the Lord did that. So he took something bad and turned it into something good. But he also didn't turn it into something good so I could just go home and sit on the couch and say, okay, I got mine done, right? I got out of the addiction, right? So I got to stop. No, I was given to me, so I'm supposed to spread that word. And that's another thing that we're all supposed to do, right? So even if you're new in your recovery, you still can help somebody else. Right? You can be blessed. Sometimes people are watching us, and the person that's 2 weeks sober or clean, somebody who doesn't have a day yet is watching you, right? And you might be able to help them out.
Right.
So you're already setting God's using you. You may not even know it. Okay. So we just have to believe, right? So one of the things that the Queen did is she just believed in God. So she went about, she did what she could. And I'm getting ready to wrap up. But so I'm trying to set it up for next week when it gets it'll probably get a little bit more interesting. But with that, I've out of time, so I'm going to close with a prayer. Father, thank you for bringing everyone here today. I hope someone got something out of this. There's a lot in your word, and sometimes it takes a little bit for us to digest it before it can mean something to us. But I hope that I get out of your way this morning. And I pray for those that are still in the madness and those that are on the street. And I just pray that you allow us to help them in whatever way we can, and to remember that we're blessed and that we are supposed to be a blessing. That we're not here necessarily to be loved and comforted and understood. We're here to love, comfort, and understand. And if we do that, then if everyone would do that, we'd all be loved, comforted, and understood. So I just want to say thank you for the blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, thank you.